Hey everybody, how's it going? This is your boy ExtrmWill with Extreme Tech. We're going to do another video here. We're going to take a look at Salad AI and electrical usage, the things that I'm wrong about and the things that I'm right about, and some of the different kind of concepts that I've been trying to convey that I don't know if I've been quite clear enough in what I mean. So we're going to get into all that right now. So as we begin off by looking at this, if you watched the video yesterday, I said I thought I was going to make about $40. I've made $48, so salad right now, it is cooking for me. Absolutely cooking. So my numbers in general that I'm getting on my electric usage right now should actually be a little bit higher than they would have been if I did this yesterday. So this should give us a little bit better kind of way to look at this. So we'll begin off first off with how I got my average estimate cost wrong. I Googled it, and I did not realize when I was Googling it originally, it gave me the numbers in 120 volts. Not an electrician. I did not realize there was a difference between your amperage to watts conversion depending on how many volts you're using. Duh! Yeah. Honestly, did not know. It was an honest mistake. I wasn't trying to mislead anybody. So my average, it's clearly, it's not 20 cents a day. It's probably actually about 40 cents a day to really easily calculate it. We'll get into how I got to that in a second. One other thing I was curious about on this though too, I'm running 240 volt, not 120 volts. I thought the 240 volt was actually more energy efficient. So in trying to look at all this, I was like, well, because if you're running, how did I get those numbers wrong? Because if I'm looking at how many, see if it'll show me back here. 15 more rows to show 240. Oh, now it goes into something else. I don't want to do that. Oops, I closed it out. So now we're not getting that screen. But if you look at it in 120 volts, you're actually using twice the amperage that you are in 240 volts. So depending on which one you're calculating it out for, they both work out to be the same, but your amperage winds up being different. I guess we'll go to the calculator. We'll look at it on the calculator here. So if we look at the calculator here, 6 amps on 240 volts calculates out to 1440, but if we look at it at 120 volts, then it says it's doing 720. But if we would look at this, if I was running this at 120, I would actually now be running 12 amps through that 120, which would still take me back to the same number. So yeah, duh, doesn't everybody know this kind of stuff? Yeah, I certainly don't at all. A little bit confusing. This is definitely not my strongest area. Hopefully that point was coherent enough. But yeah, it calculates out differently. I tried looking to see, would I save here? Like, I thought the 240 was supposed to be more efficient. It's actually not. Neither is more efficient than the other one, is what Google's telling me. If this is wrong, once again, I've read this on the internet. So, I mean, yeah, if you're going to tell me all of a sudden Bigfoot and aliens are wrong, because I read about them on the internet all the time, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. All right. So, where's my point on this again? Okay. So if we start looking at calculating this out, I'm looking at, I have 2 of my PDUs are measured, and then one of my PDUs is not. The one that's not measured is the one that has most of the server racks on it. My 4th PDU that I bought does not work. I bought it, I installed it, I got the adaptation cable for it, I plugged it in. I bought it off Facebook Marketplace, so, you know, you're going to take those kind of risks. You buy stuff on eBay. I think eBay is probably a lot better and safer, because I think if I had bought it on eBay, then I could have sent it back and got my money back. Because I bought on Facebook Marketplace, kind of no returns. You're just kind of stuck with what you get. So, a little bit disappointing, but, well, whatever. But I tried getting one on there because I wanted to get more accurate readings. So what we're doing here is on the 12 machines that I had for the high end, is looking like it was averaging 6 amps. And then my actual average current earlier in the day will look like I had a few more of the machines on those particular circuit breakers were running. It was running at 5 amps. Right now it's actually running at 4.5 amps, because in this back screen we're going to get to here in a minute, I think like 3 of those jobs had ended. I didn't go back through to look to see how many more were running, but we're still going to use the 5 amps as my average, because that was the higher average that I had grabbed, and I think you're better to go a little higher than a little lower. I'm already going to be probably low on my average because I'm not fully taking into account all of the 4090s and 3090s. So what we're going to do here, we're going to pull out the calculator, and let's clear that out. So we are going to take this 1,444 watts, and we are going to divide this by the 12 machines that I'm currently calculating. So it's doing about 120 watts per machine for my high. And then we are going to multiply that. We're just going to multiply it by 30 machines to make my life easier for all the math. So that's going to say my total amount of electricity used right now on the high end should be about 3,600 watts. This possibly a little bit low, probably a little bit low, but don't have much of a real way to get it better. It's kind of, all I can use is kind of like what I actually have. So then we're going to calculate this out. I'm going to come to what to mine because I come from mining, and this is the easiest way I know how to do it. So we're just going to have just the one algorithm. We're just going to say just eat at 3,600 watts. It's using about $12.96 per day for 30 machines. So if we go 12.96 divided by the 30 machines is going to say on the high end, my average use right now, my highest possible usage that I saw across these machines. This isn't my high average. This is my highest possible usage that I saw. These were the highest numbers I saw it get up to. Would be $4.32 per day. So if it's stuck at those peaks, it would be $4.32 per day. Alright, so let's get to the next one. This is my actual average of what it looked like it was running at for the vast majority of the time. Looked like it was running at 5 amps. As I said right before I started recording this, it looked like it's actually averaging 4.5 amps right now, but we're going to use the 5 amps because I feel like that's going to be a better way to do it. So we'll do the same thing with the calculator. We'll clear this out, and we'll say 1,200 1,200 divided by 12 machines times 30. So we're going to average 100 watts per day per machine. So we're going to average 3,000. So we do the same thing. We're going to come back here into NiceHash, calculate out 3,000 watts. And 3,000 watts looks like it's 1080. So we'll go $10.80 divided by, we're going to divide by 30 machines again to give us a little bit more leeway. So this is going to say, it looks like my actual average for all of these machines should be about 36 cents per day. Now, because we didn't put we don't have most of the bigger cards in here because those are on the server boards. We don't have, this isn't taking into account, I did not average in any of my 4090s, any of my 3 4090s, or 4 out of my 5 3090s. I am plenty confident with just saying my average should be about 40 cents per machine per day. I got the 20 cents before because, as I said, I didn't realize Google gave me the information. I was in the wrong voltage because I didn't realize that was a thing. That's how I got the 20 cents before. Was because when I calculated it out, I was in the wrong voltage. So hopefully that makes sense. If we have one more example here, we can look at, it did look like my 3090 possibly at its absolute peak was probably doing, I think it was when it was doing 100%. So it did this for maybe 5 minutes. It looked like it was probably doing about 1 amp, is as best as I can tell. There are 2 other machines on that I think, I don't remember right offhand if they were running a job or not, but it looked like this was probably doing a full amp. So if we look at that, we can see it does definitely look like a 3090 can for a period of the time be pulling, 90 cents is not uncommon to be able to do that, at about a 15 cents per kilowatt hour. I don't remember right now if I'm at 14 or 15 cents anymore. I know it came down and I calculated it out. I don't remember. So we're just going to say 15 cents for my kilowatt hours. But we can see, I definitely did see for a period of time earlier today, my 3090 was definitely doing more. So like I understand it can for a period of time. But if we want to get into that, we're going to get into a period of time kind of thing. We're going to look really quickly then at a bunch of machines and see what they're actually doing for usage. So I don't really care about any of this. We're really going to be looking at this column, which is something I do tend to look at when I scroll through them. I looked at it more when this first started. I don't look at it as much now. But if we look at this first machine, our CPU usage is at 6%, our memory is at 46%, and then the GPU is at 2, 3, 6. I don't think we've seen this particular GPU go above 6%. So yeah, like we're not going to be pushing the high end on this right now anyways. Oh, I just saw 7%. So, we're not really eating that maximum amount of electricity. This is barely using anything. So my actual power draw at the wall won't be that high for this. When I did do this originally, when I set this up, I did put my power meter up to it because I have like the single plug for the normal wall outlet for the 120 volt. I plugged it into that and I literally sat there at the kitchen table and watched it for probably like 8 hours running while I was trying to set everything up, just to see what the actual voltage was going to be and what it looked like. And like you can see it get up to like 300 watts or, I think maybe I saw it get up to like 350 watts, but it would get there for a fraction of a second. And it spent the vast majority of the time, man, this was a couple months ago. I want to say it spent the vast majority of the time between like 120 or between like 100 and like 150, 200. It didn't spend that much time really all that maxed out. So from the beginning of this, my whole thought has been it's just not really using that much. So it's using a small enough amount. I don't feel like really like nitpicking about it. If that's your big thing, like if you're an electrician or this electrical usage is like, if you're in an area where electrical usage is a lot higher and you need to be nitpicking on it more, I definitely get that. But I don't see a real reason to have to be too much. So let's look at this next machine. We're looking at all the machines that are running. We saw the CPU there was at 16. Now it's at 8, 6, 5. At the bottom, I just saw 12, 10, 8% for the GPU. So we did see the GPU get up to 12%. I doubt we're going to see any of these get above 20% on the GPU. Oh, 16, 25%. Ooh, that did get up to 25% there for a little bit. So we did see just a little, 27%, 32%. 7%, 9%, 8%, 7%, 8%. So, like, you're definitely going to see it. It's going to jump around quite a bit. To be honest, I didn't think we were actually going to see one spike up like that through all of these. But the vast majority of time, this still isn't up in that 20% range. 18%, 25%, 15%, 5%, 5%, 5%, 7%. All right, we'll go to the next one. 15% CPU usage, 3%, 8%, 3%, 2%, 3%, 27%, 37%, 6%, 6%, 4%, 3%. If you average this out, still, I mean, you're not at 100% TDP. You're not even at 20% TDP if you average this out. We go to the next machine. A little bit of CPU usage, 7%, 9%, 10%, 6%, 7%, 6%, 8%, 6%, 7%, 5%, 6%, 6%, 6%. 27, 28, 27, 28, 29, 27, 26. This one's actually using a little bit of electricity right here. This is a 4060 Ti. So let's see. Do I have that TDP on here? Let's take a look and see real quickly. Is this, as being a 4060 Ti, is this even using anything? No, the TDP on this is 160. So even at this 28%, I don't know if this is even breaking 100 watts right now. I don't even know if this is actually above what I'm going to assume my average would be. I would like to have this up to a meter to know for sure. That would be more interesting. But yeah, this one looks like it's actually using some, but because it's such a weak powered card, it's not even going to matter. So here we are, we're on a 3090, 16%, 12%, 10%, 9%, 10%, 11%, 10%. Where did that other screen go? Right here. So this 3090 at 10%, 350 watts at 10%. This is probably pulling above my average if it's actually doing 10%. So, and I mean, I'm assuming right off the bat that the 3090s and the 4090s are probably above my average. I'd be shocked if the 3080 and the 4090 are not actually above my average, because like the 3060s should be well below my average. So this one right here, I'll say probably the only one we've seen so far that I think is actually above, well above the average. So we right, so what was that one at? Yeah, that's showing like nothing. So let's see. So I think the next one we're at this one, another 3090, 10%, 12%, 8%, 8%, 9%, 8%, 8%, using almost no CPU usage. 16% of my memory. This memory is not one I want to keep really throwing into it, because they all have different amounts of memory in them, so that percentage is going to vary by how much memory it has in it. This one back and forth, 9, 10, 15%. So this is probably using over 100 watts, you know, and maybe right at 100 watts. 3080, 3%, 2%, 3%, 6%, 8%, 9%, 8%, 7%, 8%. This next 3090, it came off at 25, 11, 22, 21, 11, 4, 5, 7, 5, 4, 5. This is how I spend all my days. This is how I get all my information. I just sit here and stare at the stuff. But yeah, still, we're nowhere near 100%. You know, this one, they're definitely going a little bit higher here than I thought they were going to be. But still not really, it's still nowhere near 100. This next one, 3060, you know, we're still, you know, 4 to 10%. 3080, ooh, 18, 22, 16, 19, 16. 14, 15%, 17%, 20%. So this one may be averaging about 20%. This one might be using a little bit of electricity. So it might be a little bit above my average of 40 cents per day right now. Probably still not going to be that much above 40 cents per day. 4, 5, 2, 32 on a 3070. Yeah, so this is probably well under my average 40 cents because it's a 3070. So, I mean, it's barely using the card at all. We get to this last 3080 here. 4%, 4%, 4%, 5%, 4%, 3%, 5%. Yeah, I mean, still, we're not seeing 100% power usage and all that, so I still think we'll go back to one of these bigger ones for this, and we'll click on this screen. But you still see, like, yeah, like it's just not using, it's not using that much of the card at all. There are times when it spikes, and when it spikes, you are going to be using more. I think reporting the number when it's spiking as being that's your usage for the entire month is very disingenuous. I do think, yes, I was wrong. My average, it's not 20 cents per day. It looks like it is about 40 cents per day. That's about all I really have in here. Let's see. Let's pull out the calculator one more time. Calculator. Clear. So this will also not be a very accurate number either. But we say I did about $300 the last month in electricity. This is a very rough guess, assuming how much my electric should be. So we divide that by 30 machines, divided by... Why am I dividing by 30 again? $30 machines divided by 30 days in the month. So yeah, very rough estimate too. Would still put it at about 33 cents per machine. I don't think this is necessarily accurate. I think I may be closer to 40 cents because I think at the beginning of the month I had about 20. And then now I have 29. So it's still not a perfect way to look at it, but it'll still be averaging for the month about 33 cents a day, assuming about 60% run rate. So I feel fairly confident to say, you know, my 40 cents average per machine is about right for an average. Obviously 4090s and 3090s be averaging a little bit higher. They can obviously do a little bit more. I don't think on the average though they're really like, they're not out here at full bore all day. If you were gaming on it, if I were gaming on this 4090 right now, I think I would be averaging 10 times the power usage on it probably if I was actually gaming on it. If I were to game on it for the next 24 hours straight, I think it would use 10 times the power it's going to use from running this from calculating for the next 24 hours straight. So yeah, like we're still using very small amounts of electricity. Now if you live somewhere with a much higher electric rate than mine, yeah, like you're going to be looking at drastically different kind of numbers. This kind of thing is going to matter to you a lot more. I think my electric rate is still close enough to being cheap where it's taking a fraction of it. I do think one thing too in calculating out my earnings, somebody else was complaining about, let's see here. Oh, do I have that other one still up here? What did I do with it here? I think I minimized it. Do I have another one over here? Alright, if we take a look at this, one more thing for my earnings too. Somebody was complaining about when I do try to report my earnings. Because Sal takes 10%, even though this says I made $48, I did not technically making $48. I would have technically made about $47.62 probably, or $47.52. Yeah, $47.52. Because Sal's going to take the 10% when I cash the card out or whatever. So, yeah, my earnings aren't necessarily right. These are the numbers we see. These are numbers that are comparable. I'm not going to compare versus your store fees or whatever. When I'm going to talk about earnings, I'm just going to talk about the number up here, and you're going to have to deal with it on your own, your fees. I don't care enough to equate that in. If you talk total profit, though, it does come into play. So, let's see here. Do I have those YouTube comments up? So, when I was calculating this out, see the comments from the last one. Let's see. So my profit for the last 30 days was $1,094 when I figured out earlier. If we take out a 10% cost for $110, my total profit after electricity and the cost would have been $684, having me profit about $23.58 per machine, which means my total profit per machine would have been about 78 cents per machine per day. Not all the machines were up the whole time though, so that math is all whatever it is too. But yeah, I think that's literally all I can go on to in this. I don't know if this is informative at all. Hopefully it was. I spent all day long researching this, so I don't know if it actually turned out quite how I thought it was going to. In my head, this seemed like it was going to be far more informative, and this looks more like it's just a bunch of numbers that I don't care about, so I don't know if anybody else is going to care about it. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe, come on back. If you want to see me make other videos where I go through and break other weird stuff down, you know, write down in the comments down below, and we can break more stuff down. But that's pretty much how I get to like my 40-cent average. Look at what the high is and what the average is, and because I don't have all the cards in there, I'm just going to assume it's a little bit more. Because, yeah, 40 cents a day for electric use on each card to me seems like nothing coming from crypto mining. That's tip money coming from crypto mining. So, yeah. I had a lot of fun researching this, though, so if you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe. Come on back. I'll see you next time. Peace.